What is restorative justice? Restorative justice is a process through which remorseful offenders accept responsibility for their misconduct, particularly to their victims and to the community. It creates obligation to make things right through proactive involvement of victims, ownership of the offender of the crime, and the community in search for solutions which promote repair, reconciliation, and reassurance. Thus, the restorative justice process is actively participated in by the victim, the offender, and/or any individual or community member affected by the crime to resolve conflicts resulting from the criminal offense, often with the help of the fair and impartial third party. Examples of restorative process include mediation, conferencing, sentencing, support circle, and the like.
Mediation is a process where a neutral third party, the mediator, helps opposing parties resolve a conflict or dispute by facilitating communication and negotiation, leading to a mutually agreeable resolution. Conferencing is when you conduct a real-time, virtual meeting with two or more participants from various locations, locally or internationally, via a conference bridge. A sentencing or support circle is a community-based restorative justice process where community members, including the accused, victim, and their families, come together to discuss the offense, its impact, and collaboratively determine a sentence or plan for healing and reconciliation.
The restorative outcome is the agreement obtained as the product of restorative justice process. Example of restorative outcomes include restitution, community work service, and any other program or response designed to accomplish separation of victims and the reintegration of the victims and/or offenders.
Restitution is a legal remedy where a court orders a person who has been unjustly enriched at another person's expense to return the property or its value to the rightful owner. It's essentially about making things right by restoring the victim to the original position before the wrongdoing occurred. Community work service, also known as community service or volunteering, is unpaid work performed by individuals or groups to benefit their community, often addressing specific needs or improving the quality of life for others. How was restorative justice adopted in the Philippines?
The Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice, of which the Philippines is a member country, through a draft resolution, recommended to the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations Organization, or UNO, the adaptation of the basic principles on the use of restorative justice programs in criminal matters. The said document is a formulation of UN standard in the field of mediation and restorative justice. The Philippines, being a signatory member country, should ensure adaptation of this resolution. Consequently, the goal of the government is to establish a more enlightened and humane correctional system that will promote the reformation of offenders and thereby reduce the incidence of recidivism. This is in line with the applicable laws, rules, and policies mandating this agency to administer the parole and probation system in the country. As such, the Parole and Probation Administration, or the PPA, is empowered to create innovative policies, programs, and activities to facilitate the integration of its clientele into the mainstream of society and consequently prevent the commission of crimes. Therefore, PPA adopts restorative justice as one of its rehabilitation programs, which utilizes restorative processes and aims to achieve restorative outcomes. What are the effects of restorative justice as a rehabilitation program of PPA? Number 1. Reintegration of the offenders to the social mainstream and encouraging them to assume active responsibility to the injuries inflicted to the victims. Number 2. Proactive involvement of the community to support and assist in the rehabilitation of victims and offenders. Number 3. attention to the needs of the victims, survivors, and other persons affected by the crime as participating stakeholders in the criminal justice system rather than mere objects or passive recipients of services of intervention that may be unwanted, inappropriate, or ineffective. Number 4. Healing the effects of the crime or wrongdoing suffered by the respective stakeholders. Number 5. Prevention of further commission of crime and delinquency. How is restorative justice implemented in PPA? A. During the investigation stage. Information such as victims' version of the offense, effect of victimization to their lives, families, futures, and plans, and victims' appreciation on how the damage, harm inflicted by the crime can be repaired and healed are gathered to serve as input in the post-sentence investigation or PSI or pre-parole executive clemency investigation PPI reports prepared by the investigating officer to be submitted to the court and the Board of Pardons and Parole respectively. These data are vital in the conduct of restorative justice processes during the supervision phase. Soliciting stakeholders' interest for their introduction to the restorative process commences during this stage. B. During the supervision stage. Restorative justice program is a part of the rehabilitation of the client which is incorporated in the client supervision treatment plan (STP) in applying the various restorative justice processes for the client's rehabilitation. The supervising officer observes the following points. The parties are brought within the program out of their own volition. Parties have the right to seek legal advice before and after the restorative justice process. Before agreeing to participate in the restorative justice process, the parties are fully informed of their rights, the nature of the process, and the possible consequences of their decision. Neither the victim nor the offender is induced by unfair means to participate in restorative justice process or outcomes. Discussion in restorative justice process should be highly confidential and should not be disclosed subsequently except with the consent of the parties, and should not be used against the parties involved. Where no agreement can be made between the parties, the case is withdrawn from the restorative justice process, and in the event agreement is reached by parties, it is put in writing to give substance, essence to the agreement. The failure to implement any provision of the agreement made in course of the restorative justice process is a basis for the withdrawal of the case from the program.